Hey, welcome to Musings episode number 289. It must be Wednesday at 10 a.m. Prior to a conversation I had yesterday, it was not Wednesday yesterday morning.
Yes, that is true.
So, Kevin, if you're watching, it's live today. You're fine.
Yeah, I feel
Uh,
actually these last couple weeks, my days of the week keep getting messed up. Part of that's with holidays.
The way the holidays felt, we had Christmas and New Year's all on a Sunday.
Right.
And then yesterday or Monday was, I said yesterday, it wasn't yesterday. It was Monday was Martin Luther King Day.
Right.
And so that threw people off because there's a lot of people that had, even so they had to work. It was different because a lot of people didn't have to. I worked all day that day. But I could tell that it was definitely a holiday the way the traffic was on the road in the morning, as well as the amount of people that were in the store at different times. So,
right.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, so it throws everything off. Now we get to the section of the year where we're pretty much done with holidays until Groundhog Day, I guess.
Yep, that's coming up next month.
Day.
That was my Nana's birthday was Groundhog's Day. We'd tell her to hide in the closet so winter would end. So, but yeah, so yeah, we got Groundhog's Day and then Valentine's Day, and then we have Great Lakes Comic Con or Comic Expo coming up at the end of February. So that's a local holiday for us. Anyways, that's our first convention of the year.
Yep, and I'll now be setting up there. So Brett and I will be there.
Yeah.
So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, we'll have all the Crimson Shadow stuff out there, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit this morning, a couple times, and then as well as all the Boomtown Press stuff, and we'll have trades for the Poe Macabre, which collects all three of the first three issues. So I will have that available. Unfortunately, Kevin will not be with us. He had another engagement that conflicted with him coming out, so it'll just be Scott and I out there. And it'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody out there.
Mike DeSantis puts on a great show. And it's the perfect, we've said this in the past, it's the perfect launch of the Comic-Con season. It's big enough that, it's a nice in-between show where you can kind of ease into, because we've got to get into Comic-Con shape. When for people who don't do these, it wears you out a whole weekend doing these, and you're exhausted by the end. Your feet are killing you, and so it does take some conditioning. It's surprising how hard it is to stand on a concrete floor for a whole weekend. So,
it is. It's even with sitting. If we have chairs, we can sit in that. It still gets to you, drags out. I mean, I like when I'm busy enough to where I'm constantly talking to people, hopefully still selling a lot of stuff. Because we like to sell our comics and that. And
the weekend is always fun when you're making the money.
And that, and engaging in good conversation with everybody that's coming through and enjoying and hopefully getting new fans, people enjoying our new works and that. But either way, it's tired. You go home, you're exhausted and that stuff. But it's rewarding for those of us that do it that really have a passion for it. And I think it's the key, because I see some people that do this, and some are good artists, and you can tell they don't care. They just have no passion behind it. They're hoping just to make some money, and they just don't want to do anything else. But if you have a passion for it, it's even more rewarding to be that exhausted. So,
and if you've seen us in the past, you got to visit us, because some artists, you go to their booth 10 years later, and they still have the same setup, same stuff that they were selling 10 years ago. We are constantly coming out with new stuff. So if you saw us last year, you need to come back, because we have more new stuff. We're working hard to keep bringing out product.
Yep. Sorry, I'm looking at my other screen because I had something pop up. I had to close out.
That's okay.
I got my dual screens going, because I got the main screen I'm using today for this, and then I got my drawing tablet that I use as a secondary screen as well, because I'm doing a lot of lettering right now. Which I'll probably pop up the page I was doing.
Sweet,
for fun once we do this. But we need to knock out a little business first. So
yes, let's get those talking points done.
Yes, Larger Family Chiropractic Center. They've been a longtime sponsor of ours since day one. I was there yesterday, and some days I feel like I go every day, just because you're having weather throws you off. Even though we've had warm weather, the cold weather still coming through and messes with everything. And for me, with injuries I've been dealing with for several years, actually 17, 16 years now, it helps that I go to the chiropractor to get myself back in the line. But they do offer on-site digital x-rays, which is important, because I saw somebody the other day, if you go to a place and they don't take x-rays, you don't want to deal with them there. You really want to find one that has their own in-home dexters. And it's all digital, so I mean they can knock it out right there. They can look it right there. It's not like you have to go to the hospital and have to wait another week to get it looked at. They go do it all same day. They offer massage therapy if you don't want to get adjusted, but you want to feel better. They do massages, all different types. They offer different things to purchase like orthotics by Foot Levelers, Young Living essential oils, aromatherapy. They have a full line of vitamins and they offer it in a family oriented environment. Give them a call 734-697-4244. Visit them online at LawrengerFamilyChiropractic.com or here at Facebook. And you can find them at Lawrenger Family Chiropractic Center. Used to be at Lawrenger Chiro. Again, for some reason, they get rid of all these at signs now, but Facebook has changed. But just Google Lawrenger Family Chiropractic Center PC and you will find them. There's a couple different Lawrengers in there, but this is the one you want. And you'll see this little picture up here and stuff like that. And then you can see all the different stuff. And there's their address there in Belleville, Michigan. And like I said, they're also located in Dexter, Michigan.
And just to throw out there too, chiropractic care isn't just for your back. If you're somebody who gets a lot of migraines or headaches, go to a chiropractor because it could be, I've just been going through I just graduated from my 8-week session, my initial consultations. So now I'm switching from a weekly to a maintenance program now. So I'm looking forward to that. It's made such a difference. But talking to them, because Jill's been getting a lot of migraine, so she's thinking about going in. They said it could be what's called the atlas bone, which is right at the base of the skull there. And if it's out of adjustment, that can cause a lot of headaches in people. And there's an adjustment that they do to hit the back of the neck there and put that little bone right back in place. And, but something as simple as that, you might, if you're experiencing regular headaches, give a call to Lawrengers. They can take you in. If you're not in the area, they can maybe refer you to somebody who is in your area. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And then real quick, morning, Kevin. It is actually Wednesday today, Kevin.
Happy Wednesday morning. Wednesdays.
Wednesday.
But we also have Team Titans Real Estate. Why? Because you matter. That's right. Even though Jill and I utilize the latest in tools and technology to maximize your home buying experience or selling experience, we never forget at the core, it's a people business. Spring is right around the corner. In real estate terms, that means now. So if you're looking at buying something in the spring, give us a call now because we got to get that process started because it'll take you a couple weeks to find the house. It'll take you 30 to 45 days to close. And then if there's occupancy, there's more time. So we really got to get started now if you're thinking about making a move in the spring. But even if you're thinking about this summer or even fall, we can still give a consultation and map out a plan so that you will be in the best position possible when you are ready. Because sometimes people think, oh, my house isn't ready to sell now. I need to do this, this, and this. But a lot of times the stuff people think they need to do, you might not need to. Why spend money and time if it's not going to matter? So give us a call. We'll gladly do a free consultation. If you're selling a house, we come out to your house. We do a walkthrough. We don't just do it over the phone because if you do it when we see it in person, we can give you a very accurate number as to what we think your house is worth and a marketing plan tailored to you. So 586-232-5144. Oh, wrong button. There we go. I'm posting it onto the comments. There's our phone number there. That's the Team Titan hotline. Jill and I are waiting for you. Take care.
All right. Fantastic. Now we got a second chance thing going on here. We launched the Kickstarter for Crimson Shadows 4 last fall, but now we're doing the second chance as we're finishing up the book. So do you want to bring up the Indiegogo page?
Yeah, let me bring that up real quick here. So we are on Indiegogo here. We are at a whopping $47. This is a second chance offering. All of our Crimson Verse books are available here. So you got issues 1 through 4 of Crimson Shadows, along with our novels, Frankenstein and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So those are all available through this campaign. So if you're missing any, or you want to buy duplicates of ones you've already had, or you've not been part of this, check it out. Let me copy the link. I'll put the link in the comments here also, so people have them. We're also offering, if you're unsure if you want this, send us a private message. Go on to either my personal Facebook page or, there we go. Personal Facebook page, the Artist Scott, Bardstone, any of the way, or send Brett a message. we need your email address and your name, and I can forward a link for a free download of issue 1 of Crimson Shadows. That way you can test it before you drive it. So let me put this in here. But
Yeah.
and Brett, you're working currently on the lettering. All the artwork's done for issue 4. The lettering's being worked on
Let
now.
me show you this. This is page 21 of 44 pages. This is a double size issue for issue 4 to bring in the final arc together for this first arc. So here we go. This is a big fight scene going on with Julius. He's the main vampire there that we're following in this story. And things are just kind of going down. I've been kind of just going through some lettering and getting initial stuff laid out, including some sound effects and things like that. And I use this all through Illustrator. So that's how I lay everything out there, multiple layers, and then eventually I'll flatten them all and stuff like that. But here you can see some of the artwork. You got Kevin or Scott's illustrations with Kevin's inks over those illustrations, as well as Scott doing all the coloring on that. So
yeah. And I want to point out, issue 4, it's 44 pages. So this is a legitimate double-sized issue. All 4 issues combined, it comes to, 134 pages of story. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of stories for just 4 issues.
Yep.
So you get your money's worth.
Yep. And we have different covers available. So you can get for the issue 4, there's a cover I did. There's a couple of covers Scott did. He's got a bonus cover available only through Indiegogo.
Yeah, I'll pop that up real quick here.
There we go. So, and that you can only get it through the Indiegogo. And if you already supported the Kickstarter, you should have received a message through Kickstarter for a special code.
Yeah, we have a secret reward link for past backers of issue 4, the campaign we already did. So if you've already bought the other 6 covers and you want to add this one, click that secret link. If you backed it, but you can't find that link, just message me. I'll gladly forward it to you. But it's a super secret link. So we're calling it the loyalty reward. So
yeah. And this has been a fun story to work on. We're working on letters now. So I've been in between the job when I can getting some pages. Just got everything set up last week. So hoping to have this done in the next several days. And then as Scott and I go through it and then get it all approved, make sure there's any changes I need to do, make sure Scott didn't misspell something when I'm copying it from the script.
What?
Or something didn't get translated over right from the script to the page. So
yep. I do want to point out this ultimate starter kit that is here on the side. That's our premier reward for people who are brand new to the Crimson Verse. This gives you one of each. So you get issues 1 through 4 of the comic book. These are the unlimited edition covers. So it's the lower price covers. They're not as scarce or rare as the limited editions, but you get all 4 issues. You also get the hardcover of Frankenstein and the hardcover of Jekyll and Hyde, along with the digital editions of issues 1 through 4 of the comic book. So if you're somebody who wants to keep them in pristine condition and not crack the spine open, you can read the digitals. So we got that. Normally, if you bought them individually, it'd be $92 for the set. We're selling it for $65. So there you go. And it's limited to only 10. The reason why these are limited is because our earlier editions are running very low on quantity. So once these sell out, we're not printing back issues. So
yeah, and they're all first printing, so they're not reprints.
Correct.
I like to stress that because the next step will be taking all 4 issues and putting into a collection known as a trade.
That's right. So check it out. If you have any questions. Oh, we also have these rare curiosity editions. If you're somebody who loves to collect the super rare, these are printed on gold metal monochromatic prints. There'll be metal covers for the issues. These are 1 of 1 issues. There's 6 total available. 2 of them have sold. So we're just down to 4 left. So these are going to be the ultra rare 1 of 1 copies, never to be printed on gold metal again. And it'll be printed 1 of 1 on the cover itself.
Yeah.
So check that out. And if you're a retailer, you want an exclusive cover for your comic shop, $1,000, I will do the artwork for free, no additional cost. And you will get 100 copies printed, and they will be serialized. So they'll be printed right on the cover, 1 of 100, 2 of 100. And you can put your comic shop's logo right on the cover as well. So that's for $1,000 you get all that. Shipping is separate, and also if you want to do upgrades, so let's say you want 200 copies, we can do that, but it'll be an added cost. Or if you want an upgraded special cover, like a metal cover, we would have to work on the extra cost that way. But so that's a really good reward out there. Only 2 of those are available. There you have it.
Alrighty then. Fantastic.
That's right.
So we were talking before we got on air about a few things, and I was going to mention that Velma show. I was just looking up something real quick, and it's been popping up. Boy, that's getting trashed. It's just I looked at the trailer of that this morning, and that show is not Scooby Doo. I don't know why people have to take an existing property. We talked about this with Star Wars, even with The Last Jedi a lot, but they have to take existing properties and just completely bastardize them. Yeah. And I'm looking at going, if this is a story you want to tell, why not create a new character? Why not create new people, and try instead of trying to hijack another story universe?
Well, and here's why. I think, thinking about it, these people do this with no respect for the content, but why? Because it's not their money they're risking.
Yeah.
Like, they're getting a guaranteed money. They're playing in somebody else's sandbox, destroying a franchise, and then they leave. What's the penalty? There's no penalty. And then within their little circle jerk club, they all pat each other on the back for what they did, and then they get hired for another project. There's no penalty for destroying a beloved property.
Yeah, and I think it's a shame.
That's the problem.
And I'm watching this thing going, and the thing is, I know what certain people are going to say on it, but it's really not that. It's not that, the little things they changed. It's the fact that they completely changed all the dynamics of these characters are. Yeah, and it's like, these aren't those characters. Create someone new.
But that's the problem, is that we just had Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah,
and they've bastardized Martin Luther King's whole entire message. He's very clear: content of character, not color of the skin. But that has been thrown away. And these people who do this, all they do is view the world through color of skin. And they don't understand what the essence of a person is, an essence of a character is. And so they don't understand when they completely change a character and make it hollow without the essence of who the character is. And then people don't accept it. It's like, oh, you don't like the character because we changed the skin color. No, it's you've sucked the soul out of that character. It's no longer what the character was.
Yeah.
And so you've bastardized the character for your own goals. But in their world, all that matters is skin color. That's all it is.
And that's the whole thing. And that's why I get tired of seeing these stuff pop up. And it was getting a lot of fanfare of like, oh, this is gonna be great. They're modernizing it. They changed the style. They changed race of a character, actually a couple characters. They changed sexuality, stuff like that. They've made it hardcore. It's on HBO Max. And I'm watching this going, no, Scooby-Doo is never about being hardcore. Scooby-Doo was about friends.
Right.
And realistically, the color, I didn't care if they changed color of their skin, stuff like that. But now they made them not friends. They made it, this is following Velma. And everybody's decided to take Velma and, change a lot of that. She was always a brilliant character. She was the smartest of the bunch when it came to a lot of things. She was nerdy and stuff like that. And there was nothing wrong with that. And they wanted to make her something different now.
Right.
Like, oh, that was always bad, but we still want to make her nerdy and geeky, but we want to change it to where she's fighting the establishment. It's like, no, she was never fighting the establishment. She was actually proving what was right and wrong, truth above all else, and character.
You're right. She was about truth and finding what the real story was.
And of course, the reason I'm bringing it up is because we talk about a lot of these movies and shows, and we're talking about a couple today, and it's really the character-driven stories that we talk about that we like the most.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come about that. It's like when I had a disagreement with somebody about the Ghostbusters film, the female one. I told people, I said, it wasn't because they were female. It's because they took smart characters at the beginning and made them stupid when they brought in a male character that they made stupid.
Right.
And they spent half the film fawning on them. It's like, it felt like a really bad SNL skit.
Well, and plus they made the whole story is about the fact that it's girls instead of a story about busting ghosts. And, it becomes about the gimmick is the problem.
Yeah.
Just like, like the whole forced all-female part in Marvel with the Endgame.
Yeah.
like they could have set it up so it would have happened in a natural way and make sense, and it would have been a cool thing. But instead, it's like this obviously shoehorned element into the story where it just breaks apart the story just so we could say, "Look at what we did." It just it at least don't. It's lazy writing. That's what
I
it is.
think it
It's
is.
lazy
I
writing.
think it's lazy writing, and it's also it's people say, well, I have an agenda behind some of this writing,
Yeah.
and I think the problem with that is when I get people say, well, I've had people literally tell me, they go, oh, well, you just don't like strong female characters. I said, no, I like strong female
Yeah.
characters. Ripley from Aliens is one of my favorite characters because she was a strong, smart female
Princess
character.
Leia.
And Princess Leia, another one, very strong. Everything else. There's been a lot of them over the years, but in the last 15 years, it's like they've taken the idea of like, okay, we have to completely flip it on, and only women can be smart, and men cannot be. They have to make dumb decisions. And the thing with that is, no, you're not making, and then you're not telling a good story. You're not making it right in other ways.
Right.
Both men and women can make good and bad decisions.
Yeah.
So,
and when you just simply change the skin color of a character, it's like I was watching this good critique of Miles Morales by the gentleman critiquing it was black, and he was ripping it apart. And he's like, I can't stand this character. He goes, because it's so obviously just Peter Parker with black skin. And he goes, there's nothing about Miles Morales that reflects my growing up as a black male. Mm-hmm. He's like, I don't see myself in him other than skin color. And so he was really ripping apart. And I didn't grow up black, obviously. So it was interesting to hear his take because of his background. So I thought that was very interesting. And his whole stance is, why are we not just creating original characters for ourselves? Now, I'm not a big fan of just switching skin color for the sake of switching skin color. Mm-hmm. However, sometimes it works. Like, for instance, Nick Fury being cast by Sam Jackson. I think that works. They
had done that in the comics too with the Ultimates.
Yeah. But what they did was Sam Jackson is, well, everything Sam Jackson does, he's Sam Jackson. But they didn't try to make him act like the David Hasselhoff version of Nick Fury.
No, even in the comics, the Nick Fury in the Ultimate comic line that was this Nick Fury is based on wasn't the same Nick Fury, because they took him out of the fact that the previous one goes back towards the World War II and so that was a different kind of Nick Fury altogether.
Correct.
So in a lot of ways, they did create a brand new character in the comics prior to the movies, and that's the one they chose to adopt because it made more sense to be in the modern era to have that version of a Nick Fury.
Right. Another one where, once again, normally I wouldn't support it, but I think it's brilliant casting if it happens. Mm-hmm. Is Giancarlo Esposito wants to be Professor X.
Yes.
He has the gravitas. He can pull off. You want somebody who can pull off the intelligence. He has that. He's got the gravitas. He's a little bit scary. He plays bad guys amazingly. That's part of why he wants to play Professor X. He wants to play a good guy for once. But I think he would pull it off brilliantly. And so now maybe change the backstory slightly so it's not. Now, as far as he goes, though, he's half Italian and half African American. That's his heritage. He was born in Denmark, and he's half Italian, half.
That's Giancarlo right there. Fantastic actor.
Love him as an actor.
I've been a fan of his since the 80s.
Yeah.
He had done stuff through the 80s. He was in Spike Lee movies. I always recognize him from School Days as Big Brother Almighty, Julius.
Yep.
So and he was, and as a younger actor then, of course, that's back in the 80s. So that was like almost 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's in the 60s now. I mean, most people nowadays know him from two things: Breaking Bad, and then of course from the first season of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
That's where he gets a lot of recognition right now.
Yeah, and we should be seeing him pretty soon as it comes back in March 1st, I think it is.
Yeah, we'll have to play the trailer here.
He's also in Kaleidoscope on Netflix, which we're still watching. We're getting through that. I'm enjoying that, and he's a different character in there than you're used to seeing him. Mm-hmm. So he's got a great range of acting abilities, but he's also got a lot of times it's very hard to transition between types of characters, but somehow he's able to play vulnerable, weak characters, but also super intense, scary characters, because he's not physically an imposing man. but he does it through his acting. And when he plays Gus in Breaking Bad, it's like, okay, this guy can make things happen. You know.
Oh yeah,
So
he was as good as that show was. It's funny. I've listened to on Sirius XM they have the Team Coco Radio, which is Conan O'Brien, and he did a He does a podcast now, and he does a lot of interviews, and he did it with Bryan Cranston. They talked about how Breaking Bad came about, and realistically, one of the key elements within making Breaking Bad so good was not just how Bryan Cranston played the character and changed, as well as Aaron Paul. It was the incorporation of great actors like a Giancarlo Esposito, who, when he comes in and you first start meeting him, you're like, okay. But even his character started to evolve through that time he was on. And you start learning how sinister he really is. And he's running a chicken restaurant.
But even his origin in there, it's the acting range of Giancarlo that makes it work. Because when you see the flashbacks of Gus, he's very timid and very weak. Yeah. And you see how these experiences shape him and harden him, and the path that he goes from this weak character to this ruthless drug lord is believable, because his acting range can cover that range. So I would totally accept him as a Professor X. And I think he has that gravitas. One of the things that kind of lacks, I think, in the traditional Professor X role is the different types of egos that are involved in the X-Men, like especially Wolverine. Like, would a Professor X, the way he's normally portrayed, actually keep somebody like Wolverine in check? I think Wolverine needs to have a touch of fear in the person who's controlling him. Mm-hmm. And yes, Professor X has the mind ability, but Giancarlo would have that gravitas, I think, that would make it believable that, Wolverine would back down.
I think he would bring it all over, and I think it'd be a great way to go. As they're recasting the X-Men, I think looking at these different actors, different things they can do with it, is going to allow to bring in some great dynamic actors, and regardless of who they are, color, skin, things like that, as long as they're doing justice to the character and keeping the character intact, and not saying, well, I never liked anything about that character, so I'm going to rewrite it and only keep the fact that he has powers. That would not be the way to go. And that's what I feel like they do in a lot of these shows when they try to reimagine and change everything. So,
yeah. Speaking of that, did you see the rumors of who people are believing is going to be cast as Wolverine now?
I've seen so many rumors, I don't even know what to believe anymore.
I always mess up his name. The one that's in the Kingsmen, the younger kid who...
Oh, Taron Egerton?
Yes. He's been bulking up, and he's done some posts where you can see he's definitely putting on some muscle now. And so a lot of people are believing he might be the next Wolverine.
Okay.
Now, he could be, there's so many roles he could be bulking up for, so who knows? But
right.
But I think he would pull off a good Wolverine.
I think so. And I like him as an actor. I like him in the Kingsman movies. They got one more they're doing with that one that's supposed to come out to finish their trilogy off. The Kingsman, the origin kind of failed, but it was okay. But I think they went a little too supernatural with it.
Yeah.
Going that route. But I liked the first two, especially the first one was really good. The second one wasn't bad. But the third one is good. Brings everything around, whatever they want to do. But I like that whole bit. And it's based on the Millarverse stuff that he did. Mm-hmm. So that should be interesting. But I like him in that. But he played Elton John really good too.
Yeah.
And Elton handpicked him. He liked him, and he did a great job playing that role in Rocket Man. Mm-hmm. So that was fun on that. So, but one thing I've been watching, I guess we'll just jump right into this, was talking about good characterization. Just one episode so far, loving the characters. The Last of Us.
Yeah, they did a great job. First episodes are always the hardest, especially in our modern day of entertainment. You'd have a very short time span to have the chemistry of everybody working and the audience accepting it. In the past, you could have a whole season of, you go back to Star Trek Next Generation season 1, it's kind of painful to watch. It really is. It takes them a couple seasons to really get everything going. But nowadays, you really have one episode.
Yeah.
And if you don't grab people, it's not happening. And I think it's a home run as far as the first episode goes.
Yeah, I really liked it. You can watch it on HBO or on HBO Max. It's a weekly release every Sunday night. So this is the current Sunday offering that they have on HBO. Uh, Pedro Pascal. We're going to talk about Mandalorian a little bit here too, because we got the new season trailer coming out. Uh, he's a good actor. I think this kind of he was, Mandalorian wasn't going to redeem him from Wonder Woman 1984, but I think this does and shows that he actually is
Yeah.
a good actor. And he's has the ability to play. He's your good guy in this, but at the same time, you can tell he's going to have to do some things that aren't always necessarily good
Hmm.
uh, to protect the girl that he's got there. And I like the setup and everything I read because I've never played the game because I don't have a PlayStation. Is that the origin of him with his daughter and everything else plays out like it did in the video game. So they're not trying to recreate the storyline. They're just trying to enhance the existing narrative because Last of Us sounds like has a really good for a video game, a really good storyline and narrative that goes through the whole thing. And it's not
Yeah.
just a zombie shoot 'em up game.
Yeah. Well, and the other aspect of this too, it's very hard to translate video games into live action because so often the components that are video game,
Mhm.
if you over focus on it, it's not good as a show.
Right.
And so I think they've found the right blend of, they're just using it sparingly. Like when they're driving in the car, you have that point of view. So that gives you the video game feel when they're driving through those streets and weaving in and out. You could tell they were trying to capture a video game feel there,
Yeah.
but they kept it to a minimum and they really allowed story to be the driver. And I feel like they got the perfect blend here of Walking Dead mixed with Game of Thrones.
Right.
It's like
And
that perfect.
the game first came out in 2009 was the first game.
Hard to
Or no,
believe
sorry,
it's been
sorry.
that long.
Started developing in 2009 and came out in 2012, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
It takes
But
about 3
still,
years, yeah.
that's 11 years now.
Yeah. So
So,
or 2013, there we go. So it started like 4 years before that, which, these games take years because of the amount of graphic detail they're going to, especially a game that's kind of an open world concept where it's more where you kind of have a path, but you still have other areas they can explore. And it sounds like they have a lot of stuff with that.
yeah.
But definitely it's been I love this first episode. All the characters we're meeting in this so far I'm liking. And I'm excited now because they set it up where how the world was prior to this infection and while it is kind of a zombie story, it's a different version dealing with a fungus. It reminds me a little bit of the strain, but instead of vampires it's now zombies.
Right.
So it's got a little mix in there of that stuff, but they explained the whole fungus at the beginning of the show, at the beginning, and then we start learning who Pedro's character is, who he is in the real world. We get little hints, things like that, and I think as the story moves forward, we'll continue to learn more of his backstory from prior to the infection to after everything's went down.
Yeah. For me, this does redeem him from the Wonder Woman 1984 movie.
Yeah,
I almost had trouble watching him as the Mandalorian because of how bad that other movie was, and it's like
yeah,
I couldn't reconcile Pedro Pascal in that movie with him being this ruthless bounty hunter. But this one, I can see it now.
yeah, yeah.
um,
And I think that hopefully having this show and the Mandalorian, which we learned that really half the Mandalorian is not even him in the suit,
right.
which is fine.
Yeah, it's
But
John Wayne's grandson.
yeah, and as Kevin said here, he
Oh,
was
yeah.
great in the Nick Cage movie. That actually kind of redeemed me
The
there.
unbearable weight of massive talent. Yep.
Yeah, he was great in that too. He's
Yeah.
been some other things that have been good, but he's really you can tell that
But
he's
this is nice and serious. I'm
yeah.
liking the grittiness of this.
What I didn't like was he was complaining so much about not seeing his face in the Mandalorian. No, nobody's gonna know him. Yeah, they will. You'll do other stuff, and if
Yeah.
anything, if your career falters for the rest of your life, you'll appear at Comic Cons as the Mandalorian, and you'll make 50 grand a weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, this
So
is definitely good. It does bear a striking resemblance, though, to the Mandalorian. I've seen the movie posters for Last of Us, edited with the Mandalorian helmet on him and Grogu's head on the on the girl. And
right,
it does fit. I mean, he's traveling the galaxy trying to bring Grogu to a destination. Here
yeah.
he's bringing her, but and we can't forget to mention, and I don't know her name, but the queen of the whatever it was, but she was in Game of Thrones. There, the girl.
Oh yeah. She was the queen of the one island.
Yeah, I'm
She's a
forget.
good actress. She's really good for
Yeah.
being so young.
She handles
Um,
the F-bomb with great mastery, much like the father in A Christmas Story. They would be great rivals.
yeah, she is. She's really good. It's Bella Ramsey.
There it is.
And that, and let me pull her up real quick here. I'm looking her up again. Because she's not. I think she's only maybe 14 or 15. 'Cause she was
Wait,
like,
that's her real name?
her name is Bella Ramsey. Yeah.
Oh, and Ramsey, wasn't that the name of the bad guy, the really torturous guy in Game of Thrones?
Yeah,
Ramsey?
but she played Lyanna Mormont.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, so she was not a Ramsey, um, in that. But yeah, she made her debut was in season 6 of Game of Thrones. She
But
was
she was
great in
very
that.
powerful there. The way she was addressing everyone and like really ripping everyone apart because they weren't pledging their loyalty to the King of the North, Jon Snow. She did a great job in
Yeah,
that.
she turned 19 last year, so she's
Oh,
a little bit older than I thought she was. Still looks like she's about 14.
she's very petite, so I
Yeah.
think that adds to the feel that she's younger.
Yeah, and it definitely is part of that too. But she was not. Yeah, she's like she's got the little toughness to her that when she's playing the character. Um, she doesn't play around, and I think that she's going to be a formidable foe just for Pedro's character in this how they go about things, and because she's kind of with him, but in a lot of ways reluctantly.
Yeah. So the basic premise of the show, if you don't know it, is that this fungus. I don't know if it's the exact fungus, but in real life, there's a fungus that infects ants, takes over their brains, and turns them into these zombie ants. And you can actually look up videos of these ants. It's quite interesting. Well, the fungus evolves to be able to infect humans, it sounds like. And so that's what's causing all of this. And the main girl here, I don't think it's a huge spoiler. I mean, the game's been around for 11 years,
Yeah,
but it sounds like she has a natural immunity to it. So she's like the key to everything.
yeah,
So he has to transport her across all this apocalyptic landscape to get her to where I'm guessing, create a cure from her blood.
yeah.
So, but she has to survive the trip.
Right, and that's part of what this is. So, and it's the lesson. So, I don't know how long that lasts. I don't know in the game if they ever came to a conclusion.
Yeah, I'm definitely not
Um,
an expert on the game, so
and that so if anybody does know, that's great. So, but it's like Walking Dead. It's gonna carry on for a while if it's a hit.
they
Um,
now the creators did say their intention is to have a very definitive length of time that this show goes and a definitive ending. They don't. I think they learned from the mistakes of Walking Dead. You can go too long,
yep.
and at some point you have to address the world and what's going on, and have a story needs an ending, even great stories.
Yeah, I personally like when a series says, "Hey, this is gonna go 5 years, and in 5 years we're gonna tell the whole story and be done."
Yeah,
Um, I mean, at that point, unfortunately you get reason some of these stories go on too long is because you get the producer like, we have to continue this on. It's making us money and stuff like that. It's like, no, get to a definite ending, but you can always find something else to spin off in, go a different route.
right,
It's like, here's what happened here. Well, do a Last of Us after the 5 years if it's in a different area because it's a different part of the world, stuff like that.
right.
So, and if there's
Yep.
a good story there, but we don't need an ongoing apocalypse that lasts forever with no ending. So,
Yeah. And I think that's where Walking Dead went wrong. Now, I have no clue what happened the last 4 seasons, maybe ever since
same
Rick
here.
died. I stopped following, but way back in season 1, they started to allude to the virus that was infecting them, and they were trying to go to the CDC, and then that got destroyed, and then they were going on from there. But then they just at some point just didn't even try to address any of the world that was going around. And it's just like, well, this is just how it is. But I feel like they really need to go that way. And I think that's where they're
Yeah.
going with the new Rick stuff, but I'm not sure.
Well, I had recorded and ended up deleting off my DVR the final episode. I think it's on Netflix now. But it was just like I was going to watch and watch. I just couldn't bring myself to watch because the last couple years I watched of Walking Dead, I ended up fast forwarding through the episodes anyways because it was all boring. There was nothing going on. It's just a
Yeah.
lot of them, yak yak yak. Oh, here's something that happened. What's it? No, nothing.
Well,
And they spent too much time with when they introduced, what's his name? So I'm blanking on names now, but it was the one that
Negan.
Negan. Yeah, it was like way too much other stuff with Negan, and it was like, and then it was like, oh, we defeat Negan, but then they don't defeat Negan. Then it's another group, the Whisperers, and then it's like, it felt ongoing, like the same thing over and over. It started even in the comic that way with the governor, and then it got rid of the governor so quick. Then they brought in Negan, and then the whole Negan thing was mirroring what the governor had done in a lot of ways, and slightly different, made it a little more hardcore. But then it just wasn't getting to a resolution.
Well, I feel like part of the problem too is they started worrying about the fans.
Yeah.
And the fans were demanding Negan. They should have took their time getting to Negan. Like Terminus was a great storyline, and they completely jumped through that whole storyline in like 2 episodes.
Yeah, and that was funny because I was at Universal for Halloween Horror Nights when that year that came out, and they'd already had it, and the theming for the Walking Dead haunted house was Terminus.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, does anybody really care?
Yeah, they jumped through that so quickly. That could have gave them 1 or 2 seasons, and then they could have got out to the Negan season, work your way to that, and then have a conclusion after that. But they milked it too much, and they also, part of what made Walking Dead so great, it was like Game of Thrones in a way. You never knew who was going to make it, but they started protecting all their characters because then there were fan favorites, and they were afraid. After, I think the real last one to go, other than
Glenn.
Carl, but
yeah,
well,
Carl was a surprise. He wasn't supposed to go, but
the blonde though, what was her name? Emily?
No, sort of I thought.
But the blonde that was sister to God, I'm forgetting all their names. The one that's really popular. She started
Maggie.
off in shock. Maggie. The sister to Maggie, when she died off, that was I think the last shocking death, because Glenn, everyone knew from the comics, was going to go.
Right. Well, I think she wasn't supposed to die because she still made it through the comics through the whole series.
Yeah, so that was a shocking death.
And then
because no one expected it.
Carl. Carl was supposed to make it,
but he was fired.
Yeah, basically he was. What it was is when the new showrunner took over, he decided he didn't want Carl on anymore.
Yeah,
and he killed him off, and that was a shock to even them, because and that changed the whole dynamics of the story. That really it became Norman Reedus' character mainly, and gosh, who was the other woman that she's Andrea is the one that you were thinking of earlier. But it was the problem is that and not that I don't mind that they diverged from the comic, but they diverged so much away that they couldn't kill anybody off. No, it was Daryl Dixon, which is Norman's character, Melissa McBride's character, Carol. Carol wanted to leave. She actually once wanted to leave this series, and they basically begged her to stay. And then they introduced a lot of new. Maggie stayed on. It was Lauren Cohen. She left. She left for a season to do that. Michonne was a great character, but Michonne, she wanted to leave because she's doing other stuff.
Well, in the Michonne character, they kind of ruined too. She was amazing, and then all of a sudden they did this time jump.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden she's sleeping with Rick, and they were together, and it's like, what? Where did this come from? Like, it made no sense at all.
Yeah.
To the storyline. So I just.
Well, that's when they killed Carl off, and then they did the time jump so they could age Judith, the baby.
Right.
And then they tried to make her a mini Carl. And that's when I stopped watching it. And really at that point, I know some people watched it, but for the most part, the way I've always gauged it, I think Scott does a lot of ways too, is even though we don't do as many Comic-Cons as we used to, is there was 2 things we gauged by: chatter on like Facebook and social media, and then chatter at the Comic-Cons. And that's 2 things I weren't hearing at the shows. Nobody was watching Walking Dead that talked about it.
When Carl was the first blow, the second one was when Rick was gone. Once Rick was gone, there was like off the cliff, the interest at shows. Nobody asked for artwork anymore. Mm-hmm. It just plummeted. Nobody cared anymore after that.
Yeah, and because there's real no direction in the show. They were trying to make everybody a leader, and nobody was a leader, and it just faltered. And it became cyclical, where all it was like every 3-4 episodes it felt like the exact same storyline over and over and over again.
The other mistake they made, and this is what they did the same thing with Star Wars, is people care about a core group. And they added too many people, and then the core group people cared about, they started splitting up, so you would almost never see them anymore. Like, Ezekiel. Nobody cared about Ezekiel. Nobody cared about all these side characters. They're fine as side characters, but we don't need our main story to be about them anymore. Come back to what the core group is. We want to see the group together, not split apart, and tell a good story.
Well, and I think that's part of the problem with some of the storytelling nowadays and a lot of things is that everybody thinks like, oh, I want to know more about these other side characters. And I think it's the Boba Fett effect. They introduced Boba Fett and then it was like, I got to know more about Boba Fett. Well, that's fine. But every single character that gets created doesn't need to have their own origin story. And we don't need to know everything going on. They're coming to get you, Scott.
And yeah, I'm surprised that picked up on the microphone.
Yeah.
But all those side stories, they're great. However, they're great for comic books, novels, side things that the hardcore fans can buy, read up on, and learn all those side things. Don't put it in the main thing and eat up the time that the general audience is going to be looking at.
Right. And that's where, it's different things are fun. I like when series have done like especially on the streaming they can do it. They've done it here and there once in a while. It's like, hey, we have this little supplemental 5-minute episodes that you can watch. The Walking Dead even did some of that. And it fleshed out certain little things that you didn't necessarily need for the core story. Comics have been doing it with the crossover stuff for the last 20 years, really, where you had your main stuff like Civil War in the comics. You had Civil War, the main comic, and then in the offshoots where they even created a comic or two as a side story. But you didn't need that for the main story, but it gave you a little flesh out of certain characters you weave in and out. And then, of course, it was the other comics so like they were dealing with, so like a Captain America, Iron Man, had different aspects of that storyline too. But the main theming of it, if you just read just the Civil War comic itself, you got the story.
Right. Yep, exactly. So what's this you got pulled up here? I see you're queuing something up.
Yeah, I think we were talking about Bad Batch launched up, and last week's episode was really good. That's just a Crosshair toy. I thought it looked pretty cool, and because that was the
is that Hot Toys?
I believe so. Toys. Yeah, Hot Toys. Yeah, and last week's episode of Bad Batch focused on Crosshair, and we saw it from his perspective of working with the Empire, as well as the fact that we got to see Commander Cody again, who we knew from the movies as well as the Clone Wars cartoon.
Yeah.
So it was a great episode. Loved it. We did not see the other Bad Batch. It was just Crosshair. So we got to see that aspect of the storyline. So I think and with this week's episode, without telling anything about this week's, it really feels like they're trying to show a lot of different aspects of what's going on around the galaxy and not just with the Bad Batch doing a mission every week.
Well, and they're also focusing on smaller group, like today's episode, without getting into things. Yeah. It's only a part of the gang. It's not the whole group. And I think what they're trying to do is put a little more spotlight on individual characters so we get to know them better as individuals, not necessarily as the whole team. And I think, this is what are we in, season 3?
Season 2.
2. We know them as a team. Now we're getting to know them as individuals, and I like that. And I look forward to seeing where this goes.
Yeah, we're actually seeing within this animated show a lot more characterization than you see in a lot of other shows.
Yeah,
whether it's live action or not.
Even Omega is becoming less annoying, which is typical. It's a young character; they're developing her. I think she's going to take the path of Ahsoka. I think Ahsoka was a little bit annoying to a lot of fans when she first was introduced. Yeah. But what's great about these series is they grow and mature the characters. So there is an actual path, in real life, people are annoying when they're teenagers and they grow up and they get life experience and they become more mature and more responsible. And they do that with these characters as well.
Yeah. But every once in a while they need to tell her to shut up because she does get them in trouble. So I'm still loving Bad Batch. We got a lot of episodes this year for that one. So it's going on for a couple more months. So it'd be nice. So
my theory with Omega is this, we'll see where it goes, but Filoni is really great at taking expanded universe storylines that are no longer canon, taking elements of them out and putting them into the current universe so that they're canon. I have a feeling they're going to try to go very similar to the path of Ahsoka, where Ahsoka is now a super popular character that people like, and she's a great fighter. In the expanded universe storyline, Boba Fett had a daughter who became a bounty hunter and was kind of following in his footsteps. I have a feeling that daughter of Boba Fett they're going to take that character and have Omega become that. So she won't be a direct descendant
Yeah.
of Boba, but more like a sister.
Well, yeah, that's what it was. Was the being that we already know she was they call her Omega because she's like the final clone, and they changed the gender because all the gender had
Right.
been male, so she is a sibling to all of these clones.
Right.
So
And
she is
what's
technically
nice
sibling to
about this
Boba.
though is she's not going to just one day wake up and be the world's best bounty hunter. When she becomes that down the road, we're going to have this whole history where we saw her from a young child, and we see her growing in skills and progressing as she travels with this elite unit. And in another like 3-4 seasons from now, she's going to be one of the top bounty hunters that all the fans are going to love, and she's going to have a rich backstory to her.
Well, and even with this is like Ahsoka and things are doing that. I could see the jump from the animated to a live action series down the road
Yeah.
with an older character who would fit into um, being a little bit younger than Ahsoka, but would fit into the post Return of the Jedi storylines.
Yep.
So that would be interesting, and fit into the Mandalorian universe. That could be the Mandalorian handoff. We've been rumored to hear that they could hand off the Mandalorian. Not that she would go Mandalorian, but being part of Jango and Boba and that, there is that aspect that she could have that inheritance.
Well, and Daniel Logan will be the right age to put on a blonde wig and play Omega.
Yeah,
it is a
not gonna
clone
go
of
that.
him. It's a clone of Daniel.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's not. It's a clone of Tamara Morrison.
Well, yeah, but Daniel was the young version of him.
Well,
He was a direct clone of Tamara.
Right.
Tamara.
So he's Boba.
Tamara is his female name.
But she's not a clone of Boba in this. She's a clone of Tamara Morrison.
No,
this.
I know, but Boba's a perfect clone of Tamara. I'm saying his name wrong. Tamara.
Yeah. So.
But
anyway. Speaking of that, I've got the trailer queued up for The Mandalorian season 3. This looked awesome. So let's take a look at this. So let me get that full screen here, and
our people are scattered like stars in the galaxy. What are we? What do we stand for? Being a Mandalorian is not just learning about how to fight. You also have to know how to navigate the galaxy. That way, you'll never be lost. I'm going to Mandalore so that I may be forgiven for my transgressions.
May the Force be with you!
This is the way.
There's something dangerous happening out there. And by the time it becomes big enough for you to act, it'll be too late.
Hang on, kid. This is the way.
Oh, that looks so good.
So this also brings into play, once again, we'll see if it comes true, but in the expanded universe, originally Boba Fett went back to Mandalore, reunited all the tribes of Mandalore, and kind of became the leader in there. I think they're taking that storyline and going to give it to the Mando here, because I think he's going to get he's got the Darksaber. Obviously, it looks like he's working at uniting these tribes. So I think that's the route they're going to go, is give that storyline to him. But which I'm fine with.
Yeah, and we're seeing some Jedi in this, so I'm wondering if that's a flashback or is it a current? Because it looked like it could have been in like the Jedi Temple, but we did introduce introduction of Luke Skywalker in season 2, kind of, and he mentioned he is training Jedi, means that we could see some different aspect.
Yeah, I was trying to. I didn't pause it, so I don't know for sure. But a part of me was wondering: are those the Jedi that end up going after Palpatine? I think it's a flashback to. Actually, it's probably showing how Grogu survived the Temple
The
massacre.
Purge, yeah.
Yeah, Order 66 there. Which we have. Here we go. We do have Hayden Christensen back as an actor.
Yeah.
They could put him in that flashback, recreating the Episode 3 Purge. So we could see fresh footage of Darth Vader, as Anakin.
And with the Obi-Wan series, they may have already had filmed that during that time,
right,
to cover the stuff they did with him back in.
Right,
they showed some of him back then in that show too. So
we could have an Anakin and Grogu encounter within the temple or something. Who knows?
Yeah, it might be. That'd be interesting. I'm curious on that. So, reason I got the Guardians 3 trailer queued up too here.
Oh, let's see
that came up because they reveal Adam Warlock, who was the kid from the Millers, who's like huge. You mentioned about bulking up. He's like he's huge.
I need to go on the Marvel exercise plan. Hire me, Marvel. Hire me for $1 million. I don't need 20 million. $1 million. Give me a workout plan. I'll follow it. I just want to bulk up like Thor.
Yeah.
I need to get paid for it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this yet.
We were gone for quite a while. But no matter what happens next, the galaxy still needs its guardians. Hello, we come in peace. Come on, Drax. Seriously, dude? No! Ow!
Don't forget where we came from.
We have been running our whole lives. Pete,
I'm done running. We'll all fly away together. One last time. Into the forever and beautiful sky. We are and we'll kill anyone who gets in our way.
no, not kill anyone.
Kill a few people.
Kill no people.
Kill one guy, one stupid guy who no one loves.
Now you're just making it sad.
So yeah,
I did see that. Yeah,
I'd seen that one. Yeah, I just remember they added the image of the Adam Warlock from the last time I saw it. I believe I don't remember seeing this shot.
That's what. Yeah, I didn't remember that part.
So, but here he is right here, and it's the kid from We Are the Millers, and I'm like, wow, he doesn't even look the same.
Yeah, he's done a good
except
job.
in the face,
Yeah, it's. I gotta admit, I don't know much about that character. But,
well, he was after the Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War stuff. He was part of that in the comics. So he was kind of like the next step on that. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, because they've kind of, gone past all that stuff there. So yeah, he popped up here. He popped up in Fantastic Four 66, 67 back in 1967. So he's been around for a while. Yeah. But I think he got redone and changed up and all that stuff. So,
well, and Marvel has been kind of going back and forth on that, because didn't they originally get Nathan Fillion for that and even shot a scene, but then they deleted it? I believe that was Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, and of course, mentioned on Wiki during the Infinity Countdown, Adam Warlock realized he had unspecified time with Kang the Conqueror, so introducing Kang in the Ant-Man movie coming out next month would tie into the whole Guardians 3 with Warlock. So I think we might see him in that, or see Kang Kang pop up through Guardians 3. So
Let's see. Oh, Wonder Man. Is it Adam Warlock Wonder Man? Are they
no,
the same person?
Wonder Man's a different character.
Okay, so they were looking at Nathan Fillion for Wonder Man,
Yes.
and they filmed that, but then they got cut, and he wasn't in there.
Yeah, I think they just did a test shot and that was it.
Oh, okay.
And then he started doing the rookie and all that. So, yeah, they've been talking about doing Wonder Man, and that would be another one that they're talking about changing the character in terms of basis of race. But it's a character that nobody really knows if you didn't read the comics. So it's a character they can do whatever they want with. I think as long as they make it a good character.
Yeah. Now, Adam Warlock, is this the character they teased the creation of in the last Guardians
Yes.
movie when that pod was open and it was
Yep.
empty? That
Yep.
was okay.
Yeah, because he'd been in the comics early on. They kind of he was reborn as a new character with the end of the Infinity Gauntlet series back in the 80s. So
Yeah.
and that but it's interesting. I found it very interesting the actor they got to play that. So
Yeah. Lately, though, I gotta say, Dave Bautista is annoying the heck out of me. He's doing great with his acting. He is, and I think he's evolving as an actor. But it drives me nuts when actors get a big break because of a role, and then they start acting like they're too good for that role. Like he's crapping on the Drax character now, saying it's just a silly character, and he's glad he's done with it, and he has more serious roles to do. It's like, okay, none of these opportunities would have been around if you didn't do this.
Yeah, and that's sort of thing that it shows where the class of some actors. Hugh Jackman knows that everything he does now was because he did Wolverine. Nobody knew who he was prior to that. He does that, and he's always said, "I'll come back and do as much as they want me to, even if as old as I am now. If they want me to come back, I'll come back."
Yeah, but I mean, you can say, I feel complete with the character arc I did, and I'm looking for bigger and better jobs. Nothing wrong with that. But why crap on it and be like, oh yeah, this is just a silly character, and I hope people don't remember me as Drax. It's like, really?
Yeah, they always remember you as Drax,
especially during the press tour.
Yeah, they don't remember you of anything prior to you being Drax, and you did stuff prior to that. So guess what? You're Drax for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and just embrace it, and it's fine if you want to move on. Nothing wrong with that, but don't crap on it.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. It's some of these actors just forget that where they came from, and guess what? It could just all go away.
Yeah. And then 20 years from now, you're begging to reprise the role. So, anyways.
Yeah. So
good stuff.
Yeah. So
it's already 11.
I know. Join us next week. We'll have some more stuff we'll talk about. Don't forget the Indiegogo. We shared it in the comments.
Yep.
Click that. Support that. If you miss out on some issues, if you're looking for another cover, if you want like my cover or Kevin's or Scott's, my cover for issue 1 is no longer available, but issue 3 is available. And we have all the unlimited available for all of them. So I like that deal to get them all. If you're not getting any of them, get them all. Sign up.
Get them all.
So, hey, we'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Take care.